All right, so I want to talk about the lost art of daydreaming. At a certain point, we get so consumed with the present and the future. And sometimes we are living out of the negative aspects of our past and just desiring to not relive those things again. We get so caught up in the act of doing that we get caught up in routines and schedules and led by this world and reacting and responding to what the world presents, that we spend a lot of our time in reactive mode. And I want to encourage you today to take out the headphones, to turn away from the computer for a little bit, to just sit in silence, even if it's just on your way to bed. Instead of going to bed with like music on or with the TV as background noise, just set some time before you go to bed to just lay back and just to daydream. And I want you to go back to this childlike daydreaming, to where you are simply visualizing great and beautiful things. You don't understand how much this will uplift your soul. You see, sometimes your soul gets downcast, your soul gets melancholy, right? You find yourself just Groundhog's Day, just doing the same thing over and over, right? With the demand, with the cares of this world, with the responsibility. And you just need to take some time just to delve into fantasy. And this is what I want you to do, because we don't realize how much having this soul that's in a down place, how that affects our entire being, how that affects the way how we show up, how that affects our mental, our physical, our emotional health, and how that impacts how we show up, and then our relationships, our environments, our perspectives, our thought processes. And we don't realize how we can combat against that. And one of those things are getting back to this childlike daydreaming. So what you're going to do is you're going to visualize the best things about yourself and about life. Who is this person that you want to become? Like, who is this healed, joyful, playful version of you? And just picture yourself as that person. What does he or she look like? What do they do? What are their hobbies? What's their lifestyle like? How do they act? And just picture that person just beautiful and light and just moving around, and get lost in it. See, me, what I'm visualizing right now is a little girl in a field of flowers just dancing and running around with the sun shining. And that's like the person that I want to be and become, one that moves so freely through it. But it lifts my soul, and you could almost see how my countenance changed, right? Like it lifted up just in imagining that. You can imagine yourself, in that house, in that car. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's just what your ideal is. Maybe it's a tiny home, maybe it's a van, but it's free. Imagine yourself just in that, and just being peaceful and being happy. Imagine yourself in that ministry, on that platform, in that job, whatever it is that you want, and just see yourself operating in that in day to day. What does she wear to work? What does she talk about in ministry? Is she or he on a stage? Like, think about and see yourself actually doing that and living in that. Think about your relationship with a man or with a woman. What does that look like? What does the ideal of that actually look like? What do you guys do together? How do you guys talk to each other? How do you guys interact with one another? What does the healed, healthy version of you that's happy and joyful, what does she or he do all day? Does she read books? Does he go hiking? Like, does he work out? Like, what does this look like? And I just want you to just spend time just creating this just fantasy world for yourself, and just like beauty and love and joy. I need you to see how powerful that is. It's so powerful because, number one, as you're just thinking about it, your soul lifts. And I want you to consider this. Have you ever talked to someone and they start talking about something they're passionate about, and all of a sudden they change? Like, they're so joyful and so happy, and just like they lighten up, and you're like, dude, that's what you need to do, because that is what's bringing out the light that's in you. It will do the same thing for you as you think about it, as you focus on it, as you spend time in that moment. It'll actually relieve tension and relieve stress and settle your nerves. It'll actually calm your nervous system. You got to understand the power of the mind and how that impacts the body, the buildup of negativity, how that impacts you emotionally could be detrimental. But taking the time to be able to clear all that out and lift yourself up, it is incredible. But not just that, it gives you something to live into, right? As you go about your next day, this is what I want. This is the vision of me that I have. How do I begin living into that and becoming that? Because that's who I want to be. If I want to be that girl that's dancing around in the fields under the sun, I can't engage negativity and drama. I can't get wrapped up in other people's minds like We in the Cell. You remember that movie? No. I got to keep it moving. I got to be light. I got to be love. And anything that takes me out of it, I got to move around it. You see, it helps shape the way how we show up in the world and what we do, because I have this vision of who I want to be. See, some people don't know. They don't spend time taking stock in the fact of who genuinely I want to be, how I want to show up, what I want to become. I'm just walking through this world haphazardly. Get back to daydreaming on your lunch break. Instead of trying to do 50 million things, go sit back in your car, go breathe, go daydream. What does that look like? What does this life feels like that you want? How can you make moves towards something that you don't even know exists? I'm telling you, visualize it, see yourself into it. David Wolf said something amazing one time. He said, if you don't order off the plate of the universe will just bring you anything. Tell the universe what it is that you want so it can give it to you. And it's something I believe strongly in. And that we got to create a target so we know where to aim. And oftentimes we can't do that by ourselves. We got to invite God in on that process, because the Lord gives us the desires of our hearts. What's in your heart? Did you take the time to place something in your heart? Today, make time. Put that vision in your heart and work towards that. Lean towards that. Anything that is not in alignment with that, don't engage it. Move around it. Protect it. Set boundaries around it. Create your right and left lateral limits. That's outside of who I visualize myself to be. Get back to daydreaming, childlike daydreaming, where you just get lost in it. Find yourself in joy. Lift up your soul. Talk soon.